Welcome back to In Focus, the series that unpacks the reality of living with attention deficit disorder and discusses transforming a distracted life into a more focused and intentional one. I'm your host, Alicia Spatafore. Thank you so much for tuning into episode 2 of the series. Today we are going to be talking all about how to build your very own toolkit of good habits and good strategies for ADHD and ADD, or just tools simply for managing distractions in your life. Before we get into the topic of this episode, I just want to introduce myself a little bit further. As I said in the intro, my name is Alicia Spatafore. I am a senior at Assumption University, and I'm a communications and media major. And basically, my podcast is all about ADHD and living in a world with so many distractions. I think it's extremely difficult to navigate the distractions of this world, whether you have ADHD or not. And my podcast is geared towards talking about practical strategies that we can use to live in this crazy, chaotic world. So I hope you're excited. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get into the episode. So what is a toolkit for ADHD? Well, in my mind, it could look like a lot of things, but in my mind, a toolkit for ADHD starts with something personal. It combines things that are universal, and it creates something that is practical. So I know that sounds like a lot, but that's kind of how I formed my step-by-step toolkit guide layout that I created. And I really do believe that a lot of it is personal. There are, as I was saying, universal things that can be added to a toolkit that I think definitely should be added to a toolkit, but a lot of it really, really does come down to your own personal wants and needs and just knowing who you are as a person and what's ultimately going to benefit you. So I want you to keep that in mind throughout the episode. If there's anything that I say that you're just like, oh no, like I don't think that's for me, and you're sure about it, I mean, this is just all very, very much a suggestion. So, do what works for you. But for my own personal understanding of what a toolkit is, I think there's things that are personal, things that are universal, and all of it should be able to be applied practically. So that's what I have for you today. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about who I am and my own personal journey with ADHD. So basically, when I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with ADD, and ever since then, I've been on and off of medication for it, but mostly on it. And this past year is the only year, I think, that I've ever gone since then without being on any medication. And for me, it's just been so eye-opening and pivotal to learn so much about myself and really adapt in so many ways that I never even imagined that I could. I think, I'm not saying that medication is a bad thing, but I think it is kind of good to have a season for yourself where you can see how much you're capable of, because it's always so much more than you think. And I think one of the main points that I'm going to try to get at in this episode is that there's so many resources that are usually right in front of us that we sometimes don't pick up on, that we can be using to help ourselves and make our lives easier, make our lives better, and overall just more enjoyable. So that's what I'm going to really try to get at through all the tips that I have. And I want to start by helping you form some strategies. So with the strategies that I'm going to suggest, I do have to say, in my whole process of trying to figure out how to transform my life without any medication, I had to be really strict with myself, and it was hard. But I think that's completely necessary when it comes to really making major changes in your life. You have to do things that are uncomfortable, or else you're not going to really truly grow. So in order to be strict with yourself, you have to be honest with yourself. That's the first step that you have to take. And being honest with yourself isn't just being honest about the things that you're good at, but it's being honest about who you are as a whole picture. What are your strengths, but also what are your weaknesses? What are things that are weighing you down a little bit in your day-to-day life? And you don't have to tear yourself apart. You don't have to be mean and negative, but just look at it for what it is. And that's going to help you to really take that first step and move towards the growth and move towards the change. I suggest approaching this by writing it down. I'm always an advocate for writing things down when it comes to something that you really want to affirm because we all have desires that we're keeping in our head, even at a subconscious level. And doing work like that when you're really forcing yourself to write something on paper is allowing you to see it and visualize it on another level. And it's putting something out there, whereas before it was just kind of in your brain with all your other 1 million thoughts. Writing it down is going to help you see it in such a more clear way. So I really, really suggest that for honestly everything that you do for this type of work. I think it's always going to be helpful. It's always going to be a good idea. So, in order to be honest with yourself on paper, a good strategy is to write a list of your strengths and a list of your weaknesses. You could do like 5 each. So, for a little example, let's just say I determine I'm a bad procrastinator, but I'm really good at cooking. So I know that seems really random, and you're probably like, what can I do with that? Well, you can actually challenge yourself by trying to think of ways that you can apply your strengths to your weaknesses in order to improve. So, for my example that I used, a perfect solution for me would be meal prepping. By doing this, I could lose the stress associated with procrastination and feel an added sense of accomplishment by doing something that I'm good at. And not only am I doing something that I'm good at, I'm doing something that I'm good at in a timely manner, which is a way of proving to myself that I can do that and I can combat a weakness that I have through a mechanism that makes me feel confident. So it's like double the confidence, double the win. And I know it might be a little hard to apply every weakness that you have to every strength, and it's not going to work out perfectly every time, but try to think of creative ways that you can really use your strengths in this process. Because I feel like when you look at your weaknesses without your strengths, it just gets very discouraging, and no one needs that. Discouragement is the absolute thief of joy, excuse me, and nobody needs that. We have to look at ourselves for our entirety, for the things that we're good at and the things that we're not good at, but it's a balance. So you got to keep that in mind. And I really recommend that strategy. Try it out, see if it works for you. As I said, get creative with it. It might not work out perfectly, but I think it's a great first step. When you establish this list of your strengths and weaknesses, you should try to add some goals into the mix. How do you want to improve on your weaknesses? How do you want to foster your strengths? Start small and give yourself a timeline. Once you meet one small goal, you'll start to pick up a momentum and then you can tackle the bigger ones slowly but surely. I think that's always such a great way to go about things, even if your goal is just to get one tiny little task done that you've been putting off for weeks. Do the thing, do the small thing. It won't take long, and it's going to give you a sense of accomplishment that's going to start a momentum that you can ride out. You can use that momentum to do so many amazing things. So write it down, make a list, start with your strengths and weaknesses, but also really try to transform them into a list of goals. And a list of goals is something that you should always have. I think short term, long term, but mostly just things that are going to make you proud, things that are going to make you grow. And it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but as I said, start small and then work your way up. So, the last thing I'll say about the importance of laying out your strengths and weaknesses and setting goals is that the whole point of doing that is to really be able to visualize your highest self. And in order to do that, you have to look at yourself for who you are now and who you want to be, and all of those things in their entirety. So I hope that those strategies that I gave can help people do that. I know that they've helped me, but they're also very personal. And I do want to include some strategies and things that I feel like are very universal, things that I'm hoping that resonate with everyone and can be implemented into anyone's little toolkit, because these things are something that are proven to be mood boosters, proven to help people out in so many different ways. So I think a little reminder, even if it seems like these things are obvious, a little reminder of them and how important they are for our health and well-being as people is just always a good thing. So I'm going to list a few things in that category as well. The first universal tool that I want to talk about is a good diet with a lot of healthy food. And I'm a firm believer that everything should be in moderation. I don't believe in really harshly restricting yourself or cutting out an entire food group just to quote unquote be healthy. I think health is moderation, but I do believe that eating a diet with whole foods like protein, healthy fats, fruits, and vegetables is really amazing for your body, and it helps you in so many ways, chemically, emotionally, physically. It's actually really helpful for your ADHD as well, because I recently found out that chemicals in highly processed foods can actually worsen symptoms of ADHD, which I didn't know. And I feel like, again, if you consume things in moderation, I don't think it matters as much. But if you have a diet that consists of really processed foods, I think you should definitely take that into consideration, because sometimes we don't realize how much our food affects us. And I think you'll feel better, look better, whatever, once you consume real whole foods a lot more. Another thing I'll say is that if you do have any like weight loss goal, this is probably not relevant for most people, but eating a high protein and low calorie diet is a great way to lose body fat and gain muscle if you want to get towards that particular fitness goal. Definitely not for everyone, but another thing that's so great about that diet is that it can help you prevent impulsive snacking and overeating, and that's something that's very common with ADHD, so that's why I wanted to include that. That's something that I've had to work on a little bit too. I feel like the impulsivity of ADHD makes me want to snack a little bit more, and if I feel like my appetite is big, it's just sometimes it's hard to manage, but what I've been trying to focus on is high protein, low calorie, high volume meals. So I hope that helps someone. The next one goes pretty hand in hand with good food. It is exercise. Exercise is so important for so many things. And I feel like, kind of going off of what I said about food, how everything should be in moderation, I don't believe in an all or nothing mindset with exercise. I've tried it in the past and it never works. I think what you should really focus on, if exercise isn't something you do regularly or are very consistent with, I think what you really need to focus on is moving your body and how important that is for you, how it's going to make you feel rather than how it's going to make you look. Moving your body and staying active is the key to longevity, key to health, key to happiness. I mean, when you really think about it, it does so much for you, like behind the scenes in your body that you don't even realize. And it's going to make you feel better. It might be hard in the moment, but it's really going to make you feel better after. And it's also been scientifically proven to help with focus and reduce some of the bad symptoms of ADHD. So, especially us ADHD people, we should really remember that. And I think it's such good motivation. Honestly, sometimes when I think about, should I go to the gym today? I'm like, you know what? It's going to help me focus. It's going to make me feel a sense of accomplishment, and it's going to improve my focus for the day. And it's just such a great thing to do for yourself. So, exercise, exercise, exercise. In order to make good diet and exercise choices, you should definitely make sure that you're getting a good sleep. Sleep is so important, again, for so many things. I think we should probably shoot for around 7 to 8 hours. I know it's hard. There's a lot of things that could conflict with your sleep, but overall, sleep is very important. When you can get a good sleep, definitely prioritize it, and don't underestimate the things that it'll do for you. It'll just make your mood better, make everything better. Sleep is key. Another tool is being in nature. I'm a huge nature lover. I think it's an instant mood booster for me and probably most people on a nice day especially, but even when the weather isn't completely perfect, I think you should always try to get outside as much as you can, because just as the other things that I've been mentioning are, it's so good for your body and your mind and your overall well-being in ways that you probably don't even realize. And I always feel like if my brain feels just crowded with information and I feel like I need a break, going outside feels like quite literally the biggest breath of fresh air that I can ever have. It feels like such a good cleanse for my body. And I know it has so many benefits. Just seeing the sun, wear your SPF and get out there in the sun, and it's going to help you. It's going to make you feel better. And it's just good for your mind, good for your body. The last universal tool that I want to mention is music. I love music. I think most people love music, but I absolutely love music. For me, it is the ultimate form of therapy. I find everything about it to be therapeutic, and it's another instant mood booster. One thing I love about music is there's something for everyone. There's something for every mood. There's something for every time of day, every setting. It's just the possibilities with music are endless, and there's so many ways that you can incorporate music into your day to make you feel a little bit better. You can try to play music when you're studying, and for me that gets a little distracting, but I've been listening to like lo-fi beats, and that helps me. A little like white noise or something in the background. Maybe if you can't sleep, play a little white noise, or just when you're going for a walk, play your happy playlist or something. If you love music, don't forget all the ways that you can incorporate music into your day. I feel like whatever my emotion is, music is always just going to help me. And I think that's pretty universal. So don't underestimate the power of music. Now that I went through my list of universal tools, I want to talk about some of my own personal tools that I use on a regular basis. These things are a little bit more specific. I know the things that I just listed were very broad and general, but if any of the things that I say interest you, I definitely recommend trying them out. They've been really helpful for me, and I hope that they're helpful for someone else as well. The first thing that I love is self-help books. So if you're not a big reader, I just ask that you hear me out because there's a lot of different formats that you can get the information from self-help books. There's audiobooks, there's podcasts, there's TED Talks, there's all these different things. But I love self-help books so much because to me, a self-help book, or at least a good one, is like the best therapy session of your life that you can revisit whenever you want because it's a book that's sitting on your shelf. It's like getting hundreds of pages of written advice from the most educated person in the room. I absolutely love them, and I think there's something that everyone should explore at some point in their lifetime. And if you don't know where to start and you're curious about starting to read self-help books, I think a great place to start is honestly with some of the more popular ones, because with a good book, if it's really popular, it's usually popular for a good reason. And I do have a few really good recommendations of popular books that I want to share as well. There's so many out there that I haven't read yet that I'm curious about, but another suggestion that I have is if you have something that you really want to work on, like if you really want to work on your self-discipline or you really want to work on your productivity or something a little bit more specific, look up self-help books for that specific thing, and I think you'll be surprised how much relevant advice, maybe it'll be obvious that you're going to find relevant advice, but reading that advice in a good self-help book is just one of the most amazing first steps that you can take into transforming yourself. So that's my recommendation, but I want to also give 2 specific books that I recommend checking out. The first book that I recommend is called Atomic Habits. If you read self-help books, you probably know what this one is. It's one of the most popular self-help books of recent years, but it's Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it's all about how tiny habits accumulate over time, and it teaches us how we can use the structure of small habits to make remarkable changes in our lives. This book is incredible. It's amazing. I can't say enough good things about it. It has so much really practical advice that is just timeless. I definitely, absolutely, 100% recommend this book. The second book that I have to recommend is called The Power of Self-Discipline by Peter Hollins, and this book is designed to be a toolbox for helping people become their best selves. It shows you how to work smarter and not harder towards achieving your goals and mastering your willpower. Self-discipline is one of the most important tools that you could ever have in your life. It's something that I want to work on because, as I said a little bit in the intro of this episode, I think just as humans, we have so much potential that we don't even realize. And self-discipline is the literal thing standing in between you and infinite potential. It's the one thing, and mastering it can open up a different world for you. So that book is amazing. Atomic Habits is amazing. Really recommend checking out both of those books. The next tool that I absolutely swear by is journaling. Even if it's for just 5 minutes in the morning, the principle of checking in with yourself regularly is so important. I actually own a bunch of different journals, and I think most people would find that very unnecessary, but I love them. And I want to just briefly talk about two of them that I have that I use on a regular basis. So one of them is also very popular. If you journal a lot, you've probably heard of it. It's called the 5-Minute Journal. And basically, it has a lot for you to write down in the morning and just a small section for the night, but it just has a bunch of daily pages. And in the morning, you get to look at a quote for the day, and the quotes are always really good. And then it gives you a space to write down what you're grateful for. It gives you a space to write down what would make the day great, and then just some self-affirmations like, I am smart, I am this, I am that. And it always makes me feel better to do it in the morning. It just fills me with this good sense of purpose for the day, and I love it. And for the night, you can write down your highlights of the day and what could have made the day even better. It's simple, but it's very effective. And the second journal I want to talk about is my fitness journal. So my fitness journal has a spot for me to record meals, record workouts, and if you want, you can even put a reward for yourself. I usually don't do that, but it's kind of cool. You can also track your water intake and your sleep. And it's so good for planning ahead and holding yourself accountable. So whether you want to write down your workout for the next day or you just want to write down your workout after you do it and have that sense of accomplishment that it's written down, it's amazing. And there's a lot of apps that have the same exact features if you don't want to have a physical journal, but there's plenty of fitness journals that aren't expensive, like the one that I found. If you don't want to get one of those personalized journals like the ones I was talking about, one great journal routine on just a blank journal is to record your daily mood, your gratitude, so anything you're grateful for the day, an affirmation, so anything that starts with I am, and some intentions for the day, and things that you let go of. I wish I could say this was my original idea, but I did see it on Pinterest. But either way, it's just a great way to start your day and fill yourself with a sense of purpose. The last thing I want to talk about are some free and really helpful iPhone apps that you can get to help structure your day and prioritize self-care and just overall tools that you can use. So one of the apps is Me Plus. This one I will say is a lot more feminine. So if you're not really into like feminine apps per se, then this might not be for you, just aesthetically, but it's so great for setting and checking off goals, recording your mood. It gives you options for like meditations. You can listen to soundscapes. It even has workouts. It has so many things on it. I feel like it's such a good all-in-one app for these things because I've actually used so many self-care apps in the past, and this one just seems to have everything, so I've been using it a lot recently. Another amazing app is Sweepy. This is a cleaning app that I just recently downloaded, and it's amazing because it turns your chores into like a game. And I know as someone with ADHD, like a lot of people, sometimes cleaning and doing little chores can feel like such a huge task that takes so much out of us, but this app literally turns it into a game, and you can track the cleanliness of each room in your house. You can sync your data with others, and you can like share a profile or whatever with like the people in your household. It's so cool. It has so many fun features on it, and it really has changed my whole perception of cleaning. So I absolutely love that, and I really recommend those two apps a lot. So that is everything I have for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that I was able to offer you something helpful today. I just want everyone listening to remember that you're always a work in progress, and there's nothing to be discouraged about. You should feel motivated and empowered by all the different ways that you are able to improve, and never take it as a bad thing that there are things that you might not be good at or things that you're not doing great, because there's so much beauty in being a work in progress. So I hope that was helpful again, and thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.